40 days ago, we celebrated our Savior's resurrection when he rose victorious from the dead. And yet there was one more stage in his glorification, as we learn from the words of Jesus to Mary Magdalene, "I have not yet ascended to the Father." When we celebrate his ascension into heaven, what we are celebrating is the final glorification and exaltation of Christ's humanity. Although we focus on the cross, the resurrection, and the ascension on different days, each is really inseparable in the one Paschal mystery. This term, Paschal mystery, refers to the passing over of Christ in both body and soul, from death to life and glory, bringing us, our very humanity, in his train. The death of Christ on the cross is the definitive breakthrough in the relation between God and mankind, since it is Christ's death that makes perfect atonement for sin. The atoning sacrifice was completed on the cross by the death of Christ, but his death does not exist in isolation. The sacrificial victim, that is, the living gift offered to God, must be perfected and accepted by God, as well as offered by man. In the resurrection of Christ, God perfects the sacrificial victim and also perfects the priest, the offerer of the sacrifice. Christ's priesthood and victimhood are perfected in the sense that on the cross he was offered up in mortal and suffering humanity, and in the resurrection his humanity is immortal and glorified. By the miracle of the Ascension, God shows forth his acceptance of the sacrifice of the cross by taking Christ to himself in heaven. This is already suggested by the lifting up of Jesus on the cross. The Ascension marks the beginning of a new sort of relation between us and Christ, because the ascended Christ is our heavenly high priest and intercessor at the Father's right hand. Christ, the one priest of the new and eternal covenant, entered not into a sanctuary made by human hands, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God on our behalf. There our Redeemer permanently exercises his priesthood and intercedes for those who draw near to God through him. The ascended and risen Christ is the high priest of the good things to come, who has entered once for all into the holy place, taking not the blood of goats and calves, but his own blood, thus securing an eternal redemption. So says the letter to the Hebrews. The Ascension is the great feast of Jesus Christ as our eternal high priest in heaven, who sits at the right hand of the Father, and who has inaugurated his kingdom, which shall have no end. Now is the time of mission, as our Savior said, and I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all men to myself. As St. Paul says in his letter to the Ephesians, in saying Christ ascended, what does it mean but that he also descended into the lower parts of the earth? He who descended is he who also ascended far above all the heavens, that he might fill all things.